I used to believe that almost every Apple product was wildly overpriced. That was until I spent more money than I ever have in my entire life on a laptop, the new M1 MacBook Pro, and I fell in love with it. Obviously, if you compare the specs on paper to a Windows machine, a Windows laptop is going to be way cheaper. But when you actually use this, you can see where your money is going. There's this experience overall that for me has been worth that premium price. And it got me thinking, what other products has Apple made in the past that I have mocked or completely ignored because the prices were so high and I just assumed that the competition was better? So what I did was I went online and I bought each one of these accessories that I've certainly heard of, but I don't think that I've ever tried any one of these. Each one is incredibly expensive. Are they worth the price? Let's find out. Wow, way heavier than I expected. Oh, the case itself is heavy. It feels nice. It feels really nice, but am I ever going to use this? Probably not. These are way bigger than I expected them to be. Build quality is beautiful, as you would expect from a Apple product. The controls feel really nice. It's got this little digital crown that's very similar to what you'd find on a Apple Watch, but it feels even smoother. And I don't know, I do like these. I like these a lot. All right, let's move on. First impressions, the keyboard is extremely lightweight. It's kind of strange how lightweight and thin it is. I was expecting it to have some tabs on the back to lift it up into a slightly higher typing position. It does not have that. It feels like I could easily snap this if I wanted to. Obviously, you're not gonna be torquing your keyboard. The buttons feel nice. And one benefit of this keyboard over the Logitech keyboard that I use on a daily basis is that this one has Touch ID built onto the keyboard. The laptop itself has Touch ID, so instead of typing in your password when you're logging in or buying something, you can just put your finger on the fingerprint reader. This keyboard has that. Now, I have to admit, one thing that I never in a million years thought I would want until I started using a Mac computer is a trackpad while using it as a desktop replacement, or this next to a keyboard and mouse. Why in the world would you want a trackpad when a mouse is 1,000 times better? Well, Apple touchpads are so good and their gestures are so helpful and quick at getting around that I have kind of been missing a trackpad while I'm at my desk over here. So let's see how it works. My first impressions of this trackpad are that the build quality is fantastic. This feels much more substantial to me than the keyboard. Doesn't torque at all. It feels nice and heavy. And of course the glass on this feels great. It feels almost identical to the touchpad on my laptop. Clicking on this trackpad feels awesome. Maybe even better than the trackpad on the MacBook Pro. I did not think that was possible, but this thing is humongous, and you can just press from any side of this thing and the click is perfect and uniform. Of course, the question still remains, will I actually use this thing if I have a mouse right next to it? I'll have to test it out for a week and find out. All right, we have one more product here, and this product I have mocked for so long. This is the Magic Mouse. I don't think I've ever used it before. The benefit of the mouse is that it has a touchpad, I think, on the top of the mouse, so I assume that the same gestures for the touchpad work on this, but of course what this mouse is famous for is what I would say is one of the biggest design flaws in product design history, which is that they put the charging port on the bottom of the mouse. First impressions, it feels great in terms of its weight and the materials. We've got the aluminum bottom and the glass curved top. It just feels really premium. That being said, the ergonomics of this feel horrible to me. It feels like I'm just using my fingertips. This almost feels like it should be a mouse for children or something with really small hands. Maybe I'll get used to it, who knows? Obviously, there is a ton that I still need to learn about each one of these products. I am going to use all of them for a week exclusively. I'm going to put my Bose headphones away. I'm going to put my Logitech keyboard and mouse away. I am only going to use these 4 products for the next week. Will I fall in love with them? I doubt it, but who knows? Let's find out. All right, guys, I'm back. It's been a week. I've been using all of these products. Let's start with the headphones here. These headphones have surprised me in many ways. These headphones are the best sounding headphones I have ever tested before. I'm a big Bose fan. I don't want to go anywhere without my old QC35s. And I thought the sound quality on these was fantastic until I heard these. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it makes the Bose sound kind of thin to me. There's so much clarity. It's not heavy on the bass. It just feels like a very balanced sound all the way through from the bass to the high notes. And I just hear a lot more detail in these headphones than I do in my QC35s. And I've become so interested in the sound quality of these headphones that I actually went online and I purchased every single one of the highest rated headphones. I have many more down here. I'm currently waiting on the brand new Sonys that should be showing up in about a week from now. And I'm going to do a test where I put all of them on a table. I'm gonna have a bunch of friends come over and we're gonna listen to them one by one. And we'll see which one actually sounds the best when we hear them all side by side. But sound quality overall on these is incredible. Best sounding headphones I've ever used. I also have to say these are the best built headphones that I've ever used. They are heavier, obviously, than other plastic headphones that I've owned or used in the past. With my other headphones, I've never really cared what they look like or anything. I don't care if they get scratched. But with these, I'm like, oh, I don't want them to get scratched at all. So I've really been babying these headphones over the last week, and they still look brand new. Now, although the build quality is incredible, and when I'm holding these in my hand, I think they look beautiful. I think they look kind of stupid on my head. You guys tell me. They just feel really big, especially with my bald head. I just feel like they don't look very good. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old school guy or whatever. I just feel like old, smaller headphones look better and more normal. I think maybe I'd like these if the outside was a little bit smaller, like every other pair of headphones on the market. But the fact that they kind of get bigger on the outside, it just feels silly to me. It's like earmuffs or something. Moving on to noise cancellation. It's fantastic. When you put these on your head, they automatically turn on and the noise canceling is great. I kind of have a hard time hearing myself right now, but if I tap this button, it will move into this transparency mode, which is incredible. I mean, the clarity of my own voice right now, piping through the speakers, sounds great. It's almost like I don't have anything on my ears at all. So in that sense, I feel like these have the best transparency mode of any headphones I've ever used before. Now, I do have one major issue with the noise canceling feature on these headphones, and that is when you are using these in a lot of wind. For example, if you are riding a bike or on a skateboard or something, the noise canceling does pick up wind noise and it adds a little bit of static to the music or the podcast that you're listening to. And my old Bose headphones here give you 3 different options: noise canceling high, medium, or off. And when it's high, it sounds really bad in wind, but if you set it to medium, all of the wind noise goes away. So almost every single day I ride my bike or I ride my electric skateboard with my headphones on, and I have to say, if there's wind involved, I think the sound quality on the older Bose headphones is actually better. Basically, when you take these off your head, they just kind of go into this low power state, and then when you put them back on your head, they're supposed to connect automatically over to your phone. I've actually had issues before where they don't connect over to my phone and I have to go over to the Bluetooth menu and add it back in. I don't know why that's happening. I also learned that to turn them off, you are actually supposed to use this hideous, stupid case. So that may be the reason why this case feels abnormally heavy. It's got magnets or something inside this thing. And so basically, not only do you have to travel around with these headphones that don't fold up, you also have to travel around with this ridiculous case that doesn't really do anything to protect the headphones if you want the battery to last longer. So that is a huge downside in my opinion. Now, my biggest issue with these headphones is when I connected them to my MacBook Pro, I was having major connection issues. It cut off. So yeah, it's like it played for a second and then now it's back. Now it's going in and out. Now it's off. Still off. Still off. Now it's back. So weird. I've never had this issue before with my Bose headphones. These headphones have been out for quite a while. I can't imagine it has anything to do with firmware. I've got the newest MacBook Pro with the newest software update. So it doesn't seem like it's a software issue. And it just seems crazy to me that you could spend over $500 on these, connect them to another Apple device and have that much interference. So the question is, will I be keeping these headphones? And the answer is sadly no. Although I love the sound quality of these things, the fact that they look kind of stupid on my head, the fact that there's an issue with the battery life unless you want to use the ridiculous bra case that it comes with, the fact that I'm having issues connecting with my laptop and it's kind of sputtering in and out, and the fact that these are the most expensive headphones that I've ever used before make this a pretty easy decision for me, but I'm not gonna return them yet. Again, I'm going to compare them to all of the highest rated headphones that are currently on the market. I'm gonna release that video and then I will return these. Next up, the keyboard. This is the Magic Keyboard with Touch ID. This keyboard was incredibly expensive and again, it just feels really flimsy. I don't know if you guys can see how easily I can torque that. It just doesn't feel like the build quality lives up to other Apple products that I've purchased in the past or even purchased for this video. Out of all of them, this definitely feels the cheapest and it almost looks like it's kind of bent already. And I definitely didn't do that. The way the keys feel on this keyboard is really nice. I don't have any issue with that. The sound that the keys make, I feel like is quiet enough and it's a pleasant typing experience. However, I feel like I have an issue with the ergonomics of the actual angle of the keyboard. I want this thing to be lifted up a little bit more off the table and I want it to be angled towards me a little bit more, but there's no option for that on the back of this keyboard. And so for that reason, I actually prefer the Logitech MX Master Keys keyboard. I feel like they have out-Appled Apple with this keyboard. I'm sure you can't tell on camera here, but this keyboard is made of aluminum, just like the Apple keyboard, but the entire thing feels a little bit more robust, although it does kind of twist as well. But the entire thing feels heavier and more substantial, and the typing position for me is better. It's not significantly different, but it just raises things up a little bit and tilts the keyboard back towards me. The other big thing that I was surprised about was that the Apple keyboard doesn't have backlit keys. It's not the end of the world, but I find myself working at night a lot without a light on, and the Logitech keyboard does have backlit keys. I'm going to assume that the Logitech keyboard has far worse battery life because of those backlit keys, but it charges with USB-C, which of course I just always have ready on my desk to plug in. And all of the Apple products that I've been testing today charge with Lightning. So it's just like another cable that I have to have on my desk. It's kind of a pain once again. Now, of course, the main benefit to the Apple keyboard over the Logitech is that this has Touch ID built in. I can read my fingerprint and get right in if the computer is locked or if I want to buy something online. It's a little bit faster than typing in a password. I just don't type in a password that often, so for me, I would much rather have a better typing experience that I'm using all day, every day, and have to type in that password 1 or 2 times, rather than have a worse typing experience and have that Touch ID button. One other thing that I had a problem with that may not be an issue for you, but certainly is for me, is that I have 2 computers on my desk over here. I have a Mac laptop and I have a Windows desktop, and my Logitech keyboard and mouse allow me to connect to 3 different things with just the touch of a button. And I can set those to either connect to these little USB-A dongles or through Bluetooth. And so when I'm using my Mac, I just hit number 1, and if I'm using my Windows, I just hit number 2, and it automatically switches over instantly and starts working. I can't figure out how to seamlessly jump from my Windows computer to my Mac computer with this keyboard. I can definitely disconnect it from one and then connect it to the other, but that's a very slow and cumbersome process. So again, if you're going to be using multiple computers with one keyboard and mouse, I'm definitely going to have to recommend the Logitech. Next up, the Apple Magic Mouse. This was probably my most hated product that I tested for this video. Like I said earlier, I think the build quality of this mouse is fantastic. It feels really nice, but the ergonomics of it is just so bad. I feel like this is made for a little child or something. I'm having to hold it with 2 fingers. It's just way too small for my big hands. And the other issue I had was the way the touch panel on the top of this mouse works. I feel like it's really well built, it's super sensitive, it's great, but in classic Apple fashion, they don't really give you many options with what you can do in terms of gestures. One thing that really annoyed me is how loud this thing clicks. I don't know if you can hear this. It's an incredibly loud clicking sound, and I thought to myself, well, you know, it's got like a touch panel on the top. There should be a way to make it to where when I just tap the top of this, it will click, and I won't actually have to physically press the button. Well, that doesn't work. So then I went down this rabbit hole of trying to install this third-party software, which will allow you to do that and will allow you to customize all these different gestures and everything that you can do. And I couldn't get the software to work without buying it. And then I was mad because the trial didn't work. So then I just uninstalled it. And basically the entire week of using this mouse was very frustrating to me. I feel like all of the gestures that work so great on Apple's touchpad either aren't accessible on this or are much harder to do because it's just a smaller surface. And then of course the thing that everybody hates and what this mouse is known for is that it literally charges from the bottom, so that when it dies, you cannot use it while it's charging. You have to plug it in from the bottom and just sit here and wait. Now, I haven't used this long enough for it to die. I charged it the first day I got it, so I haven't had to deal with that. So I can't personally complain about it, but I can complain about just how annoying this mouse is to hold, how loud it is to use, and how really unintuitive and unhelpful the few gestures that you can do with this mouse are when you're actually using them. So I'm obviously happy to move back over to my favorite mouse ever, the Logitech MX Master 3. I believe it's cheaper. It's got every feature imaginable. The best part of this is the scroll wheel, which you can either turn on notched scrolling, where you can feel it like click as you're scrolling, or you can hit this button and it will remove all friction from this thing. And if you're going through tons and tons of pages of scrolling, you can just go whoosh, and it's still scrolling, still scrolling, still scrolling. I mean, it's incredible. I guess they do it with magnets or something. Like, it's still going. It's still going. We've got the thumb scroll wheel as well to move from right and left. We've got a forward and back button here. The bottom of this mouse also has another clicking button here. So if you press down with the side of your thumb, you can get it to do whatever you want. On my Mac, I have that set to mission control, where everything pops up. You can also click down on the scroll wheel itself. So there's lots of extra buttons on this mouse. And of course you can program them and change them to do whatever you want. In my opinion, there is absolutely no comparison between these two mice. I wish Apple would come out with a mouse like this that has touch features like this, but in a much more ergonomic shape like this. And of course, I don't want any sound with the clicking. This mouse is loud as well, which I find annoying, but the MX Master 3S was just announced. It should be coming out any day now. I've already pre-ordered it, and they said it's the same mouse as this, but it's 90% quieter. So definitely check that mouse out if you are tired of clicking sounds. Now, I have saved the best for last. This is Apple's Magic Trackpad. After using this for a week with a mouse, I was jumping back and forth. I have fallen in love with this thing. It's just like the trackpad on the MacBook Pro, but obviously it's much larger. It gives you more room to work. And I just realized how lazy I am. If I'm typing like this, or I'm sitting back in my chair relaxing, if I've got a mouse, I'm constantly having to like move my arm and move my wrist around to do stuff. I'm hearing all this commotion with the mouse moving around and clicking. Or I can just chill and just move my finger around like that. And of course, I turn on the option to not even have to press. I can just tap. And it's just completely silent and peaceful. And I can be lazy and fat and just kind of relax and not even move my body to surf the internet. And again, I never thought in a million years that I would want a trackpad for a mouse on my desk. Why in the world would I want that? But after I've tested it for a while, I really like it. My biggest complaint with this is that it takes up a lot of space where my mouse would normally be. So when I do use a mouse, I'm either having to push the trackpad a little higher than feels comfortable and then I'm using the mouse below it, or I'm having to kind of push the keyboard over to my left a little bit, which is uncomfortable to type over here so that I have more room to work on the mouse. So that's been a little bit annoying and I'm gonna have to figure out what I wanna do with that. The only other issue that I have with this thing is that Apple locks it down again. They only give you a few options when it comes to gestures, and I went down this rabbit hole once again of looking up this third-party software that lets you customize it. I couldn't get it to work during the trial. They're trying to get me to buy it without testing it, and I didn't wanna do that, but I've seen videos of what people are doing. And you could, for instance, use two fingers and rotate like this and it would change your volume or change the brightness of your screen. Or you could use two fingers scrolling on one side or the other to do two different things. So I feel like there is so much more power that you could squeeze out of a product like this, and Apple should allow you to do that natively, but you gotta use this third-party software. So maybe I'll do another video about that later. But as it is right now, my lazy self really appreciates it. So I am keeping this thing, but the only question I have left is it worth paying extra for the new gray color so that it matches my Logitech keyboard and my Logitech mouse? Or do I spend less money and keep this white one? Let me know in the comments below. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to let you know we are currently having the biggest sale we've ever had at fstoppers.com/store. Every single one of our photography and videography tutorials is on sale, and the more you buy, the more you save. I'm not going to give details in this video because this sale is not gonna last much longer, but definitely head over to fstoppers.com/store and check it out for yourself. See you soon.